Hello viewers, this video is about how Ugandans or people in Uganda can go to Dubai or United Arab Emirates in 2021 while flights from Uganda to Dubai are still on suspension. If you have your valid visa to United Arab Emirates but you still don't know how you can go to the United Arab Emirates during the suspension, watch this video to the end. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more information about living and working in the United Arab Emirates. At the beginning of June 2021, the Ugandan President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa, addressed the nation. In his address, he announced a total nationwide lockdown. This was because of the increase in the new COVID-19 infections and increase in deaths caused by COVID-19. The increases were mainly in the highly populated districts and also in the main city center, Kampala. In addition to the address by the President, sources say that 3 planes from Uganda arrived in the United Arab Emirates with more than 80% of the passengers testing COVID-19 positive. This leaves question in the system of testing in Uganda from our side. If everyone on the plane had a negative COVID-19 test from the hospital, from a reputable hospital, how come over 80% of the travelers tested positive on arrival at Dubai International Airport? Following the two above situations I've mentioned, the government of the United Arab Emirates announced a suspension on all flights coming from Uganda, including transit flights, until further notice. Other African countries put on suspension include Zambia, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Talks are ongoing between the two governments of Uganda and of the United Arab Emirates to see how they can arrest this situation and make sure that they can have reliable testing and reporting system. Once that is done, we believe that the suspension will be lifted. But at the moment, we don't know how long this suspension is going to stay. It could take months, it could take a whole year. That's why we need to find ways of going to the United Arab Emirates if we have any urgent needs to travel to that country. There are many Ugandans and even non-Ugandans who are in Uganda with valid United Arab Emirates visas, but they are stuck now due to the suspension. They are waiting for the scheduled flights, but now after the suspension, they are stuck. They don't know how they can leave the country and how they can arrive in Dubai. There are about 5 categories of people in Uganda who are stuck due to the suspension. And these include, first category is Ugandans with a valid residence visas to United Arab Emirates and Dubai. Maybe they came back to Uganda for vacation and their vacation ended after the suspension of the flights. That means they are stuck in Uganda, they have no way of going back to their jobs. The second category is Ugandan traders. There are so many Ugandans who do business with Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. Maybe they had their scheduled flights with their visas and they had to go to purchase their merchandise. But after the suspension, they are also stuck. They can't go. 3 Ugandans with their tourist visas who wanted to go for tourism, for honeymoon, or to look for jobs. They could have their visas all valid, but now they are also stuck until the suspension is lifted. Fourth category is that of the newly recruited staff in Uganda to go and work in the United Arab Emirates. The agents maybe had got their visas, employment visas, but before they could take their flights, the suspension happened. So they're now stuck with their employment visas, but they can't go there to serve their clients or their employers. The fifth category is that of the non-Ugandans who had to transit through Uganda to the United Arab Emirates. Maybe they came from another country, but on the suspension, even travelers who had stayed in Uganda within the last 14 days were not allowed to go to the United Arab Emirates. That means even if they leave Uganda, go through another country, they have to wait until at least 15 days, then they can enter the United Arab Emirates. That's the only way they will be accepted in. But if they go before 14 days, they won't be accepted in. In case you fall into any of the above categories, or you know someone who falls in any of the above categories I've mentioned, these are some of the options you have to go to the United Arab Emirates before the end of the suspension. The first option is straightforward. You can wait until the suspension is lifted, then you book a flight and go to the United Arab Emirates or to Dubai. The challenge with that is you can never know when the suspension will be lifted. It could take months or it could take a whole year. So if you have something urgent, then this doesn't work for you, and if it's very important. The positive side of it is if you had purchased a ticket and you wait until the suspension is lifted, you can use the same ticket. You just have to call the airline and then you'll reschedule your flight at the earliest date. The second option is to transit through another country that has not been suspended by the United Arab Emirates. However, in this case, you have to stay in that country for at least 15 days. That's when you'll be allowed to enter into the United Arab Emirates if you have a Ugandan passport or if you have been in Uganda for some time. Even if you don't hold a Ugandan passport, but you have been in Uganda within 14 days, you won't be allowed in the United Arab Emirates even if you use another country, even if you transit through another country like Kenya or any other country. The main challenge with this option is that it becomes too expensive, considering the cost of additional COVID test, cost of additional transport to another country, and the cost of where you're going to stay, accommodation where you're going to stay for the 15 days. That is a big cost you have to put into your mind and consider if it's worth it or not. Another challenge is you can never know if or not this country you're going to will be suspended before the end of 15 days. In case it gets suspended, then you're in trouble before the 15 days end. So that is a risk you have to consider, but it's worth taking sometimes if something is very urgent. And also, if you had purchased an air ticket from your country, from Uganda to Dubai, you may not be able to transfer that air ticket to another country. And that means even refunds may be a bit tricky. With all that said, one has to evaluate the cost, time delay, and all the inconveniences and the risk and decide if they have to take option A of waiting until the lifting of the suspension or option B of transiting through another country. It's up to you to do that evaluation, see the risks, see the costs involved, and decide whether option A works for you or option B works for you. In this current situation, I do not advise any Ugandan working in the United Arab Emirates, in Dubai, Ajman, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, to come for vacation at the moment. Flights can come to Uganda, passenger flights, but they cannot be allowed back to the United Arab Emirates. So if you have your vacation now, you either postpone it or you take a local leave. It will be risky for you to come now without being sure if you will be able to go back. If you watched up to this far, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if it's your first time, and share the video with anyone else who needs this kind of information. I'll be giving you more and more information about life in Dubai, living and working in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. Thank you. Watch out for the next video.